Hello and welcome back to Remember the Flowers. We will be continuing where we left off, which, if you recall, is after Cyrus, Axel, and Silver decided to go on a little road trip to go visit Cyrus's old house. So, yeah, whether or not it's still there is, who knows? Whether or not it's going to end bad or good, who knows? But yeah. So, yeah. Well, without further ado, let us, continue what is technically the end of the arc, of this current arc. So, yeah. Anyways, yeah, let's begin. Chapter 13. Lucky. Every now and then I check my axiom to see how long we've been driving. The shift in time zone makes it kind of awkward to figure out, though. The town we ported from was only a few miles away from the underground base. Unlike the capsule motel, the ports made for vehicles are much more complicated in scale. There's a gigantic arch that lights up a sky blue at the end of a short runway, acting as a gateway. It's almost like driving into a force field and feels just as disorientating as you'd think it would be. Before I knew it, we were speeding halfway across the country. If we were in Arizona before, we're somewhere around Tennessee now. I feel a little like a little kid watching the world around me go by as we drive on a decrepit road. We've passed through a few cities as well. Needless to say, it's painfully clear how unlucky this part of the country was during the fall. Despite the fact that we ported away from the desert hours ago, the countryside is still a total wasteland. The only difference is that there's slightly more trees than before. So Cyrus, you ever been around here? I don't think so. Most of my family stayed around the northern parts of the US. I see. And you moved across the country for school, yeah? Sure did. Both myself and Deanna got into a med program in Arizona, and we traveled back and forth throughout the year. Did you drive? That sounds like it'd take a long time. We did the first time we moved, to bring everything with us. After that, we flew between breaks if we needed to. Flew? Like a hovercraft? No. We had machines called airplanes that we used to fly all over. Commercially? Really? Yeah, so long as you could afford it. You could go anywhere in the world. Wow. Besides the occasional boat, we don't have anything that could easily do that. You can't use the capsule ports? Aaron chimes in. Porting between countries isn't really a thing yet. For one, our country is still in the process of rebuilding everything. Not to mention how the previous nation royally screwed up our foreign relations. It's been a struggle to make a name for ourselves, and until then, we don't really port in or out of the country. Have there been talks of attaining sovereignty? Yes, mainly by resume. Why doesn't that surprise me? Because they're a fascist organization hell-bent on taking over and exploiting massive amounts of people. Couldn't have put it better myself. They can only hope that the boss's plans actually pan out. Aaron pauses a moment before continuing. I really shouldn't tell you any of this, though. Don't worry, I will. Titania wants to try to unify the country again, and then elect a democratic regime. Silver! What? He's going to find out anyway. Besides, give Kanto some credit. They couldn't tap into our comms even if they tried. Even so, I don't want to overwhelm Cyrus. I'm feeling pretty good, actually. It makes me happy to be filled in like this. Ah, yes, you're right. Sorry, Cyrus. You don't have to apologize, Aaron. You know I'm very appreciative of how much you look after me. Helps that you're nice to be around. Anyway, while I don't know the exact details, Titania is pretty dedicated to this cause. She's funded the resistance nearly on her own this whole time. Is she a well-known figure? I also don't know about that. I've only met her once, and that was through a video call. She has a serious aura about her that makes it hard not to do what she says. What about you, Aaron? You've met her in person before, right? Just once as well, when she promoted me to the leader of a squad. I can hear a breathy sigh come from Aaron. You don't have to talk about it if you don't want to. And you call me considerate. I'm fine, don't worry. It was a complicated time. It was shortly after we kicked Lance out of the group. The giant doctor looms over me as I try to sign my release papers. Are you having trouble, sir? Is your arm acting up at all? No, I'm just thinking. I feel awkward holding the pen in my paw. What the hell did Cyrus teach me again? Fuck me. Oh, Mr. Krager, allow me. The weasel easily slips the clipboard and pen out of my tense grasp. You'll have to forgive him. He didn't have a proper education. Oh, I see. My condolences. You're all so wonderful, taking in those with an unfortunate upbringing. It's what we do. Think nothing of it. And there. I believe that's all you need. Yes, thank you, sir. Please give my regards to the board of directors. But of course, keep up the good work, Doctor. Can we go now? Impatient, aren't we? I suppose being cooped up for so long will do that to a man. I start tugging on that damn collar he put on me. Just feeling a little claustrophobic. As you should. You'll have to excuse us, Doctor. We really must be going. Understood. Again, thank you all for your hard work and generous support. We look forward to serving you again. I'm sure we'll be back before you know it. Don't worry. The weasel starts walking and wordlessly gestures for me to follow. With a scoff, I stuff my paws in my pants pockets and I do as I'm told. Again. You know, you really do have to work on your public appearance. No one's going to want to work with you with that attitude of yours. That's fine by me. I work better solo anyway. I'm sure you're quite experienced in that regard. I start to imagine what the inside of the weasel's neck might taste like. Artemis directs me into what I assume is his own car. It's a sleek and simple design, much like everything else in this boring city. After getting in the vehicle, I struggle to put on the seatbelt, to the point that the weasel has to strap me in himself. Honestly, what can you do? I can think of a few things off the top of my head, including biting yours off. My, Mr. Krager. Keep this up and I might have to show you how many volts an Arcadia collar can send through the average male body. I start gripping the sides of the seat I'm sitting in with pure frustration. I suggest you ruin your thigh before my pure leather seats, Mr. Krager. And if you do, please be mindful of the blood. I'm going to go fucking insane. Speaking of another major fuck-up, why don't you give me a little more to work with in regards to your previous employment? Where are you taking me? Artemis sighs with a hint of pleasure. Someone's excited to start working again, aren't we? You're no fun at all. And believe me, boring me will only lead me to trying more entertaining methods to get a conversation going. Seriously, fuck off. Alright. What the fuck do you want? My old crew? Honestly, those details can wait. What I want to know is where you used to work. The Resistance. The location, Mr. Krager. Where is it? He's demanding more than asking. And you know what? Aaron isn't worth this. I'll tell you on the road. Not sure you want to make your way there, though. Artemis chuckles as he starts up the car. See? I knew you could be fun to chat with. I think we'll have a pleasant time together. Lucky me. I'm confused. Titania promoted you for kicking Lance out? Basically, she said it was because I was able to make on-the-fly decisions, but I don't really buy it. Our squad didn't have a leader for a long while, and because of that, we were dysfunctional and unreliable. Oh, you weren't always the leader? I wasn't. Reggie was. Ah, I see. Are you sure you want to talk about this? I can hear Aaron chuckle through the headset. It's not easy for me to remember, but I assure you, I'll be fine. You already know most of what happened anyway. True. What was she like? You know, in person? I only met her for about 30 minutes. We had paperwork to do and deals to discuss. I'm pretty wary of those in authority. Had to be when I was growing up. But I don't know. At the very least, I think she's fighting for a cause that's worth it. It's worth it to me anyway, so whatever happens, happens. Aaron. Now, don't worry about me. That's my job. I made my choice along with everyone else. Running away isn't an option. That's very admirable. I appreciate your conviction. I'm thankful to you as well, Cyrus. You're a perfect example that I'm fighting for something that's worth it. You're both so soft. I do have good shampoo and conditioner. I can attest to that. Something worth fighting for. Besides the occasional conversation after that, the next few hours on the road were pretty quiet. Eventually, we started driving off the beaten path for a little while. Silver spotted a small forest that we could sleep in tonight. Forest may be an exaggeration, but there's enough trees to give us some cover. Silver says that he's going to be gone before we wake up, wanting to get a head start on digging for lodestars. We start setting up camp together around a big fallen tree. I can't help but gaze through the trees. Despite the way the world is now, it is refreshing to see all these plants in the wild. I must be staring for a long time because Aaron tries to snap me out of it. Cyrus? What's wrong? Oh, nothing. Sorry. My mind has been preoccupied for a little while now. I've been mulling over what Aaron said earlier. Do I have something to fight for? Do I want to fight? I have people that I don't want to lose again, but what could I do to stop someone from hurting them? I try to flex my arms. While they feel a little more firm, I definitely could lose any altercation I came across. I start getting frustrated at myself over imaginary scenarios. But I can't deny that danger is always lurking around the corner. I want and need to get stronger. For the first time in years, I feel like I have a purpose again. I intend to see it through. Aaron, how long would it take to make dinner tonight? Maybe an hour? I had a stew recipe that I wanted to try. Why? Is it okay if I go do something after we've set up for the night? I don't see why not, so long as you're careful. Don't worry, I don't intend to go alone. I turn towards Silver. Hey, Silver? Silver's in the middle of pitching our tents. He doesn't look at me when he responds. Yeah, what's up? Can we do some training before dinner? Silver stops what he's doing to face me. A smile creeps up on his face. Why not? It'll be a good way to build up an appetite. Don't go overboard with him, please. Aaron says that with a little bit of worry in his voice. Don't worry, I'm an excellent teacher. Silver holds his paw up under each wrist, grabbing something from both axioms at the same time. he soon tosses over something for me to catch. With a short stumble, I manage to grab it before it falls to the ground. It looks like a wooden knife. The blade looks like it's dripping in blue liquid. And since I'm a great teacher, we'll start with the basics. I grip the wooden handle in my palm a little awkwardly. I've cooked with knives before, but I've never attempted to use one as a weapon. Now, boys, no training until you finish pitching the tents. That's my only stipulation. Ugh, yes sir. Hey, come on, you can teach me how to do that too. You're so good at it, after all. God, you're lame. Come over here, it's not too complicated. Even though I've been building my stamina up over the past month, it's still quite low. Silver's been teaching me things for barely 15 minutes, and I'm already starting to feel it. After starting with a few pointers, he's been having me try to land a hit on him without much practice. Something about experience being the best way to learn. I can tell that he's holding back and moving slower than he would normally would, but I still can't land anything. I'm impressed, Cyrus, but you could still stand for improvement. Your stance is looking good, but your execution needs work. While still holding the knife, I put my hands on my knees to take a few breaths. My chest feels a little warm, particularly around my heart. Silver walks over to check up on me. I know we just started, but do you want to take a break? No, I'm good. Just give me a second to catch my breath. Take your time. We don't have to rush. With a solid step and thrust, I just barely managed to graze Silver's arm, leaving a blue streak on it. Whoa. Finally. Oh. Is that how we're doing things, huh? Hey, come on. I'm just thinking like an assassin would. Is that right? How about I show you what that looks like in action? Silver gets into his own stance, holding the knife upside down in his paw. You got good instincts, I'm sure, and you're right, an assassin takes any opportunity to land the kill. That includes taking advantage of someone down on their luck. I think I understand what he's getting at. I'm still tired, but I try to figure out a defensive stance. My gaze is centered on the knife in his hand, thinking of ways he'll try to attack. Ready? Yeah, I think so. Silver quickly sprints up to me, way faster than I thought. It takes every ounce of my being to dodge his blade. Out of instinct, I try to jump back. That's about half as fast as I would go when I'm serious. Even so, you were still able to dodge, even while winded. That's impressive. Silver walks up closer to me just a couple of feet away. While we definitely want to work on your reflexes, I'm sure you'll get wiped out if we only focus on dodging full-on assaults. Silver gets into a stance that's almost reminding me of a fencer. Stand right there, straight up. You can try to strike back if you want, but I want you to try to move back and forth to avoid me. You don't let up, do you? You want to see how good a teacher I am, don't you? Yeah. I swallow my spit and try to focus on Silver. There's something I want to try. I'm not sure it'll work. I've never tried it like this before. With one final deep breath, I get into a defensive stance once again. Focus. 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 I start to feel a sensation that I haven't felt in a while. I'm not sure exactly when I figured out how to do this, and the specifics are still a bit of a mystery to me. But I learned how to artificially slow down my perception of time. While trapped in Resume, I'd often do so to try and tune out the ongoing surgeries around me. Being sedated wasn't an option, as I had long grown immune to it. Instead, I tried falling asleep while slowing everything else around me down. My heart starts beating in a particular rhythm, and my senses kick into overdrive. It's more like I'm thinking faster than my body can keep up with, rather than actually slowing time. In a situation like this, it might prove to be useful. Ready? I try to nod naturally while in this strange state of mind. Sure enough, Silver starts his offense. My eyes are the only part of my body that can keep up with my thoughts. I watch his knife as it slowly gets closer and closer. He's aiming for my left side. Moving like this feels like I'm trudging through gelatin. With enough effort, I'm able to force myself to sidestep, although I almost lose my balance. I start to feel dizzy, but it's manageable. I can see surprise slowly creep up on Silver's face before transitioning into focus. Without speaking, he tries again to get me. This time, he's going for the center of my chest. I try to jump backwards to gain some distance. I'm slowly getting used to the sensation. Breathing like this is awkward, and I can't tell if I'm taking enough breaths. It's like I have to do it manually. Silver continues his onslaught of strikes. Whether or not he's trying his absolute hardest, I'm able to dodge most of what he tries to dish out. For a moment, I think I see a confused expression on the silver fox's muzzle. In the end, he does manage to leave a red streak of paint on my right forearm, but that's only because I was just about to give out. I'm panting and I feel like I could pass out at any second. Silver must be able to pick up on it. He tosses his knife to the ground and faces his palms to me in surrender. All right. That's enough, Cyrus. If I didn't have a headache before, hearing his slurred speech definitely will give me one. Calm down. Get back to normal. I force my heart back into a steadier rhythm, and after 10 seconds, I'm back to the present. That was oddly impressive. Gee, thanks. I'm not trying to be insulting. It's just... He looks me over with confused look on his face. What the hell were you doing with your heart? It's... complicated. Well, in any case, you definitely got a good foundation for defense. Learn to throw in some attacks of your own in the middle of it, and you'll be able to take down any random thug you come across. I'll take it. God, I'm exhausted. Sorry, I might have went a little overboard. I was trying my best to hit you, honestly, but it was like you read my mind. What can I say? I guess I got good instincts. Right. I contemplate on filling Silver in on my little talent. It's not really something I need to hide, right? Over dinner. I'll let you know what I did. Oh? Yeah. But, could you help me back to the camp? Sure thing. You deserve a good rest. Oh, star pupil of mine. Thanks. Silver puts one of my arms around his shoulder. He's a little shorter than me, but he's strong enough to help me back to camp. In order to not worry Aaron, though, I try to walk on my own once we get closer. Judging by the amazing smell wafting through the air, I'd say that we're right on time for dinner. The white tiger waves us over to the makeshift camp. He set out a couple of logs around the campfire he made, which is cooking the pot of stew he mentioned earlier. Evening, fellas. How did the training go? A lot better than I thought. Silver proudly presents the streak of fur I colored on his arm. Cyrus did that? Did you let him? No, I didn't let him. That would ruin the point. He got me too, to be fair. Only once, though. I didn't want to be too extreme with it. I'm still huffing and puffing too much for my liking. You went overboard, didn't you? Maybe. Who's to say? Aaron chuckles and moves to the side of the log he's sitting on, patting the spare space. You look like you could use some rest. Come here, dinner's almost ready. Can't wait. Without hesitation, I walk over and then plant myself next to him, still panting. Here, have some water, Cyrus. Aaron holds out a small canister. I graciously accept it and start to slowly drink. Oh, thanks, Aaron. I really needed that. Of course, I think it's good that you're working on yourself, but remember to take it easy, alright? That feels like all that I've been doing as of late. Rehab isn't easy, Cyrus. You've been working hard these last few weeks. Don't sell yourself short. He's right. Give yourself the credit you deserve. I try to hide my sheepish expression by drinking more water. In any case, feel free to rest next to me. I've been told that I make a good pillow. Huh? Aaron slowly pulls on my shoulder to rest my head against his arm. No buts. You need to rest. The stew will be ready in a little while. Why don't you take a nap? But... Trust me, Cy. You need to rest your body as well as your mind. Just a tip from one assassin to another. Alright, fine. Just a short one. We'll wake you. Don't worry. My mind is already starting to fade as I turn my head to comfortably rest against Aaron. I don't know if it's my imagination or not, but I think I can hear him purring ever so slightly. What do you mean we wouldn't want to organize a raid? Do you really think that I'm the only one who's left? They've set the bases to be evacuated and explode should someone leak information. That sounds ridiculous to me. I know they're stupid, but not so stupid to waste resources like that. Believe what you want. I don't really care. You should at least try to be a bit more convincing than that. All I'm hearing is an excuse to keep us far away from where your little pals live. I thought information gathering was your forte. Why do you even want to keep me around if you're not going to believe me? That call wasn't up to me. It was up to Dario. I'm sure you're aware of him? I've heard of him, yeah. He's the descendant of Darius or something. The guy whose company you sold your soul to. At least I got some kind of profit. You're quite literally in debt to us. Artemis laughs, despite how morbid the situation is. He wants to meet you in person. You should feel honored. Like Darius all those years ago, he seldom makes public appearances. Cool. By the way, where is the space that you used to work at? I still find it hard to believe that they'd rig that what little they have to blow up. I would like to investigate. I sigh, knowing that ignoring this prodding will only lead to more problems. That's tricky. When I was employed, our group was still considered rookie and not to be trusted. They hardly told us anything for a while. That was smart of them. You haven't proven to be very loyal. Are you going to interrupt me every time I try to speak? You know, I just might. Your reactions are quite entertaining. Whatever. My point is that while I worked and lived there, I don't know where it is. We mainly worked in a remote area that they gave us coordinates to. You could try there, maybe. Was this before or after you had your axiom? What difference does it make? If you use that little brain of yours, you could have just opened a map to pinpoint your location. I laugh. For once, I have an opportunity to look smart. You think they're that stupid? They have frequencies that screw up most axiom location functions. Artemis drops his jovial facade and looks quite serious. Is that right? Yeah. Unless you had clearance, they would limit the functions while you're in the main base. That is... very good to know. The weasel switches back to his annoyingly sarcastic self soon after, at the drop of a hat. I was worried at first, but it looks like you are good for something after all. Oh yeah? Enlighten me. I have my suspicions for a while now, but it looks like I'm going to need a personal chat. With? With Dietrich Steiner, the creator of the Axiom. He's always been so proud about his encryption and neutrality policies. What you just told me leads me to believe that they haven't been playing fair with us. I'm sure you're aware of how that makes me feel. See, selling out your former comrades isn't as hard as you think it is. You're implying that I'm going to get paid for it. We'll just disregard your hospital bills and call it even. How's that sound? Whatever. How much longer do we have to drive? Doesn't Tunisia have gates to port us? What's the fun in that? I didn't save up for this car just to barely use it. We'll be there in an hour. I assume there is... Resume, yes. The main location and all. I'm sure with your line of work as of late, you're familiar. I'm going to take a nap. Wake me when we get there. Sleep well. Maybe when you wake up, your cranky attitude will be gone. Don't count on it. Oh, trust me, I won't. As usual, the meal Aaron made for us is absolutely amazing. The warm stew paired with a cool breeze from the forest makes a relaxing experience. Later in the evening, Silver and I start chatting about training ideas. By the way, Cyrus, what's with that axiom? I noticed it earlier. Doesn't it weigh your arm down? Kind of. It's not very heavy, but it does make it a bit awkward to swing the knife. Maybe we should get you a more compact model like the ones we use. Come to think of it, I've never seen that type before. Aaron's the one that gave it to me. Apparently it wasn't released to the public. That's right. Despite the fact that it's more advanced than most models, it has a lot of limitations. Mainly because it has to connect to the host through the nerves. I hold my arm out so Silver can get a better look at it. It has an AI in it that's been helping me figure out how to use it, but I'm still learning. I see. It's just so bulky. You could maybe use it as armor in a pinch, but that's stretching it. Maybe you're right. The only issue is that I wouldn't want to damage it. Well, you should be able to change its shape, at least a little bit. Huh? What do you mean? Aaron thinks for a moment. I've only seen one other person use it, but yours looks a lot different than when he had it. It's supposed to be able to change shape. Aaron tugs on his green bandana as he tries to remember. He used it while fighting a lot, but couldn't do much with it without hurting himself. He wasn't able to do anything too crazy with it, although I remember he was able to fire some sort of blast from it once. Aaron sighs. Nearly burned his arm off in the process. Can an axiom really do that? Now that you mention it, I remember how weird it was when you put it on me. It was a blank slate for a moment before it started to change. Even the screen ports look different than what I remember. I have to wonder if that AI adjusts the form based on the user. Let me try something. I calm my mind to use the mental link with my axiom. Kai? Yes, operator. I assume you've been listening in on our conversation. Are you able to change your shape at all? Certainly. What form would you like me to take? Offensive? Defensive? How about efficient? A little lighter would be helpful. One moment, please. Okay. And just like that, the axiom covers itself in a verdant green light. It doesn't last for a long time, maybe 10 seconds. I barely have time to register what happened before Kai speaks to me again. Reduce physical surface area by 45%. Any less would impede functionality. Is it to your liking? Stunned at what just happened, I start to rotate my arm around. I could feel it sucking out some of the metal underneath the skin when it changed shape. Instead of looking like a large metal band, the axiom now looks more like a brace attached to my arm. It only covers the top of my arm now. The underneath is replaced with 2 metal straps to keep it in place. It's still embedded in my skin, but it's not nearly as suffocating as before. My arm definitely feels a lot lighter. That's... wow. It's pretty impressive, isn't it? How did you get it to do that? I can talk to it in my mind. It can hear my thoughts and can communicate without anyone knowing. That's crazy. I never knew something like that existed. Like I said, they don't make many. I wonder what else I can make it change into. Just be careful. It's still inside of you after all. That's true. It felt a little weird, I'll admit. I could feel it sucking out some of the metal underneath the skin just when it changed shape. Grody. All through telepathy, huh? Yeah, pretty much. That actually gives me an idea. Sorry to get off topic, Silver, but I had something that I wanted to tell you while we were training. Oh? What's that? It's hard, but I'll try to explain to both of them about my weird ability. I leave out the part about me feeling dizzy and fatigued so Aaron doesn't worry. Interesting. That explains why your heart was acting up before. Yep, while you're gone, I'm gonna try and practice with it, mainly on how to use it with my axiom. There's a lot of potential with an ability like that. I doubt many people can do it. You said your chest felt warm while you were in that state, right? I hope that isn't your artificial heart overheating or worse. That caught my attention too. When we're back home, let's have Vita take a look at it. I hope it's not too confusing for them. I could definitely use some maintenance though. It's been a while. I could slice you open so that we can take a peek at it. Thanks, but I don't trust you to put me back together. Fair enough. Aaron coughs. Sorry to interrupt, but I wanted to ask you something, Cyrus. Yeah, what's up? I hope it isn't rude to ask. What's gotten you so fired up lately? Don't get me wrong, I'm happy that you're feeling passionate, but I guess I'm just surprised. I didn't peg you for a fighter. I don't really know how to explain it. I mean, I never really thought about fighting until recently. I think back at my times at university with Deanna and Damien. I don't think I've told you, but I didn't really want to become a doctor when I got into grad school. My folks were the ones who pushed me towards it. I hated blood and gore. Looking at the diagrams and pictures in the textbooks was more than enough to make me feel ill. Then... I'm stumped. I guess even now, I shouldn't expect to remember everything super clearly. It was centuries ago after all. Sorry. I'm not sure where I was going with this. I think I just learned that I wanted to help people. I don't know... Hey, there's nothing wrong with it. Don't push yourself. Aaron places a comforting paw on my shoulder. Thanks, Aaron. I really don't know why I'm this amped up, though. You could just be fighting for your survival. We do it all the time. Maybe. Sometimes I wish I wasn't so forgetful. I stare down at my reflection mirrored against Kai's new appearance. My brow is furrowed. I want to fight, but what do I want to fight for? Obviously for my new friends, but I know there's something more to it than that. This is going to bug me for a while, I can feel it. It isn't until Silver claps his paws that I snap my attention back to the conversation at hand. You've got plenty of time to do some soul-searching, Cyrus. But, speaking of time, I should probably get going. What? Already? Yeah, I just got a message about the potential new base that we're investigating. It's looking that there's something to it. I guess it's only a matter of time before they started looking for opportunities all the way out here. What are you gonna do? I'm gonna be as annoying as I possibly can. Huh, then I guess I have nothing to worry about. Just be careful, alright? If worst comes to worst, text me. We can try to come to help. I appreciate it, but what kind of assassin calls for backup? The kind that has friends, that's what. Silver blinks before he smiles. Hope you find what you're looking for, Cyrus. Be sure to show me what's in that time capsule when we're back home. You got it. Do your best. I always do. Good luck out there, Silver. Silver nods and then gets up from the log, putting his hoodie back on. After a deep breath, he speeds off towards his bike. He must have been taking it easy on me earlier. That level of agility is insane. It isn't long until we hear the roar of his bike echo through the empty forest, only to slowly fade into the distance. It's just the two of us again, and I am very aware about that. Did you get enough to eat, Cyrus? Absolutely. It was delicious as always. Oh, you flatter me. Nothing like a good campfire meal. You said it. Here, let me clean up. You don't have to do that. I know. But I want to. No buts. Guess I can't argue with you. Though, there's not much to clean up. Aaron passes me the lid that goes over the pot he cooked the stew in. If you can just take it off the fire and then pack it up, that'd be great. You got it, boss. Aaron chuckles while I start cleaning everything up. Thankfully, it really isn't that much. I grab all the bowls we used and then rinse them out with water the best I can. Are you nervous about tomorrow? It's been a while since you were last home, right? That's putting it lightly. I stack all the dishes before putting them away in a nearby crate. The last time I saw my parents was before the fall was announced. At the time, Current kept me at the facility to make sure that I stayed sanitary. I was supposed to fly home at some point to catch up with them. Obviously, that didn't happen. I'm sorry. I shouldn't have brought it up. Don't be. I want to talk about them. I'm trying to be as open as I can about everything that's happened, you know? In that case, why don't you tell me about them? Boy, where do I even begin? Why not a rousing game of 20 questions? I think I'll take you up on that. Aaron and I get comfortable around the dying campfire. For the next hour or so, he asks me about random facts of my previous life. He eventually takes his Axiom out to start typing in it, saying he's been researching how the old world used to be. Aaron is quite attentive throughout my ramblings. He's picked up on things that I wouldn't consider abnormal, but are wildly different than how he grew up. Your parents sound wonderful, Cyrus. I can only imagine how hard it must have been to go through school like that. It wasn't the worst. I had a lot of help along the way. Definitely couldn't have done it without them. A proper support system is all you need. Aaron shuts off his Axiom before he leans back. I hope your old way of life becomes more commonplace in the future. It wasn't all sunshine and rainbows. The world was still pretty shitty back in the day, just a different shade of shitty. Things seemed a lot more simple back then. That's probably because I can't properly explain how complicated it all was. The government was pretty shitty most of the time, and healthcare was way too expensive. My folks weren't super well off for most of my life. We made do, but it was rough. Part of the reason that I went to work for Current was to help my parents pay for my college expenses. That's very admirable of you, Cyrus. I'm sure they're proud of you. I'd like to think so. They did a good job raising me. I miss them a lot, to be honest. I can imagine. Aaron sits straight to face me. Well, it's not very fair of me to ask you about the past without telling you about mine. What? You want to tell me about how you grew up? Sure. As you know, I have a lot of stories. I'm all ears. I've been curious about a few things, to be honest. Oh yeah? Like what? I'm curious about how you met everyone. You told me that you met Lance and Reggie at the orphanage. What was it like growing up? Ah, the orphanage. Obviously, it wasn't an ideal situation to be in, but we made it work the best we could. Despite how strict the staff were, they tried to make sure that we were well fed and comfortable. It was a poor establishment, however, so we didn't have many luxuries. Lance and Reggie and I shared a small room together. I had a bit of a growth spurt when I was young. I remember having to sleep on the floor for a little while until they replaced my bed. Every now and then, I try to anonymously donate plums to help out. I nod along as Aaron recollects his childhood, not wanting to interrupt. When Reggie turned 18, he got accepted for a scholarship and was able to travel to go to school. We only saw him a few times a year after that. Aaron's voice starts to get a little somber. It was just me and Lance in that little room for a while. I think I was about 14 at the time. We played and talked a lot, but it was still lonely. At the time, it wasn't very common for kids to get adopted. Those who did usually showed some sort of promise. Basically, if you weren't useful in some way, shape, or form, you didn't get to leave. Reggie actually got asked a few times, but said that he'd only go if we were able to go with him. In the end, it never worked out. Then I turned 18. I was finally old enough to work. A nearby factory had a stranglehold on the orphanage. They exploited the small staff of the orphanage to get free labors. I didn't want to cause a fuss, so I decided to go willingly. I remember how teary-eyed everyone was, especially Lance. Lance wasn't of age yet, but he wouldn't let me leave alone and insisted that he come with me. Aaron manages to chuckle while reminiscing. He was a needy guy, I tell you what, always needed reassurance. Reggie graduated from intermediate level of education and was on his way to university, but after hearing about us leaving, he decided to drop it all and come back to us. Factory life, well, it didn't work out for me, to say the least. They didn't pay us much and would often delay paying us altogether. They kept pushing us to work, oftentimes it led to more violent outcomes. I still remember the time that they threw a wrench at Lance's face and the beating I gave the superior who did it. After a few months, I got the courage to get us all to run away. We ran away as fast and as far as we could. I was bitter. Very bitter. My folks abandoned me. I couldn't find a job and I barely knew anything. I had to take the anger out on something. Hey. What's wrong? Cyrus, I did a lot of awful things. Things I'm ashamed to admit. I was angry at the world around me and hurt a lot of people. At first, I made it a point to not attack anyone for no reason, so we only targeted rival gangs. That code of honor didn't last long though. We raided any camp that we came across in the desert. There was a lot of bloodshed. Even now, I can clearly hear the sound of a bat smacking against the sleeping man's skull. It was efficient and easy. It felt good to get out all my anger out on somebody, anybody. We worked as a team for a while, but I knew deep down that I just wanted to raise hell. Eventually, our small band of 3 grew bigger and bigger. We'd taken people over time that suited our interests, eventually becoming a respectable desert gang. That's actually how we ended up meeting Kareen. We ran into her during one of our raids. Apparently, we had our eyes set on the same target. It turned into a competition, more or less, to see who could do the most damage. After everything went down, everyone was pretty much spent for the night. In the end, there was no clear winner. But she stuck around after that, and we eventually merged our gangs together. I can't deny that it was an exhilarating time in my life. Aaron sighs louder than I've ever heard. I won't make excuses for myself. I won't even try to sugarcoat it saying that we did what we had to do. We were a band of thieves who did what we wanted, when we wanted. I'm ashamed to admit it, but that's what we were. Sorry, I prattled on for a while, didn't I? It was eating at me. I wanted to let you know who I really am. He's shaking again, just like when we were with Vita when I got my memories back. It takes me a moment to say anything. It is a lot of information to take in all at once. I don't want to disregard everything he's told me, though. So, what changed? What do you mean? You've been the nicest person that I've met since I got out of Current. Something must have happened for you to end up like this. Life dealt you a bad hand. I think you had the right to be angry about it. Granted, some things you told me were not good. I put a reassuring hand on his shoulder. He flinches. Do you feel bad about what you've done? More than you could know. I wish I could just forget it all, but that'd be cowardly. Yes, it would be. But you know what isn't? Admitting that what you were doing was wrong and growing to be a better person. I mean, for fuck's sake, you were scraping by after the apocalypse, Aaron. That's not something a lot of people could handle. You say that, but I still remember it all clear as day. I can't sleep some nights. I just think about it. Have you been keeping this all to yourself all this time? Yeah, for the most part, but that's only because everyone else knew where I came from. I was worried the most about you finding out. I couldn't live with myself if you started seeing me as some kind of monster. Why would I think that? Because I did. You did bad things, Aaron. You fucked up. But you're trying to atone for that, right? Yes, I am. But I don't think it'll ever be enough. It might not be, but you're trying. That's better than some people I know who have done a lot less. He starts to tremble, and I take that as my cue to give him the best side hug that I can. I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for you, Aaron. I hope that you know how happy you've made me. I can't see his face, but I can hear him whimper as he tries to return my hug. We sit quietly for a while. Eventually, the fire goes out, almost leaving us in the dark. The moon is bright tonight, which gives us enough light to look around. I can see Aaron wipe his face with his bandana after we separate. Man, I thought I couldn't get more pathetic. Don't say that. You're not pathetic at all. You say that, but sometimes I'm not so sure. When push comes to shove, I'll be there to pick you back up. Cyrus, you remind me a lot of Xavier in a way. That catches me off guard. What do you mean? You asked me earlier that something had to have changed, right? I nod, letting Aaron know that I'm going to keep listening. It was a few years after we left the orphanage. We were a bit notorious, I'll tell you what. Sometimes we got a little too brave for our own good. Part of that was leading raids into more developed cities. There's a town to the east of Tunisia called Stein. It wasn't as advanced as Tunisia, but it was pretty close. We decided to raise hell in a place I had never seen it before for no reason other than to prove a point. During our first raid, however, something happened that changed our lives forever. Hey, you. Can you hear me? Please help me. Huh? I grunted in the direction of the soft voice. A small white-haired human jogged up to me. He's gasping for breath. They were absolutely filthy with completely tattered clothes. He must have been desperate if he came to me for help. You shouldn't be here. Don't you know that there's a raid going on? That's how I was able to escape. Can you help me out of here? After that, I won't bother you ever again. When they lifted their head up to look at me, I thought that they were winking at me, but one of their eyes was closed. Please, I don't have any money or valuables, but I can pay you back in time, I promise. The more I look him over, the more I realize just how beat up he was. Hey, Aaron, what the hell are you doing? We got shit beat in. My second-in-command yelled from me from the other side of the street, pipe in hand. Wait, did you all start this? You have to get out of here. And why's that? Because Razum is stationed here. What? I looked around at the damage we've done and just how much shit we were in. The small human grabbed my paw and then tried to direct me away. If you don't get out of here, they're going to kill you. Please. I'm 6'8" tall. This human couldn't be any taller than 5 feet 10 inches. He was scared of the situation at hand, but fearless of me. I've never been more confused in my life. Sirens wailed in the distance. The human tried pulling me even harder. Ugh, damn it! Kareen, round everyone up. We're getting out of here. We were back at our desert camp for the night, a good few miles south from Stein. We could see a cloud of smoke coming over the horizon, but I was pretty sure we ran far enough away that they wouldn't be able to find us. I tried to do a head count. I was disappointed when I came up short. 5 of us didn't make it out. Their deaths were on my selfish hands. So, do you mind telling me who you are? Where you came from? I've never seen a human with white hair before. They were both treating the person we wound up taking care of. We didn't have a lot of medical supplies, but thankfully most of his wounds seemed to be old. After he took a swig of water, he finally answered. Yes, of course. Thank you for taking me in, by the way. My name is Xavier. Xavier Soul. I was a resident in Razum. I actually just escaped a couple of days ago. Escaped? From a hospital? How much time do you all have? Reggie and Lance looked at each other before looking towards me. I grunted before I got up and sat next to them. Just how much shit have we gotten into? You don't know the half of it. The human explained all of his experiences over the past 100 or so years. I didn't believe him at first. Given his appearance, however, I eventually gave in. Reggie held his chin up in thought. So the saviors of the land are actually just a public black market? Reggie sighed before he shook his head. Glad I didn't end up working for them after all. You believe me? It's hard not to, particularly with your eye. Xavier held his hand over his closed eye. You've had to have been pretty committed to pretend to having your eye harvested. My blood started to boil, yet another aspect of the world who takes advantage of the vulnerable. I appreciate you looking at me. I haven't been able to clean it since I left. I didn't do much, honestly. We should get you to a professional if we can. Reggie turned towards me. What do you think? We can't take care of him with what we have currently. We can barely get by as it is. You don't have to tell me that. I'm well aware. Oh, you don't have to take care of me. I'll be fine. Xavier got up and then patted his dusty clothes. I'm glad that you took me in this direction. I have a contact that I've been meaning to meet. He set his sights on the desert wastelands to the east. I just hope that they're still waiting for me. With all the commotion, I wouldn't be surprised if they left. Xavier turned back to me and then gave me a small smile. Thank you for rescuing me back there. I'll be forever in your debt. We didn't do anything. Don't get it twisted. If you say so. When they started walking off, I immediately got up and grabbed his hand. Where the fuck are you going? Hey, don't scare me like that. Xavier tried to free their puny hand from my grasp, so I let them go. You're not seriously going off into the desert by yourself, are you? I mean, yeah. I don't want to cause y'all any more trouble than I already have. I just know Resume will catch up soon. They don't want me around. I pinched the bridge of my snout. No, no, no. You're not going to just wander around aimlessly in the desert. You're going to freeze to death before you find anyone. I'm pretty tough, I'll have you know. Don't worry. Don't be stupid. I sighed loudly as I rubbed my eyes. Just stay with us for the night. We can try to find the people that you're looking for tomorrow. You really don't have to. Don't make me repeat myself, understood? I could tell that struck fear in the human, as intended. But I couldn't help feeling a little bad about it. Who are you even looking for? The human looked at the three of us before he looked at the rest of the camp. What I'm about to tell you is extremely confidential, understood? And the info about Resume wasn't? Yeah, but fuck Resume. Xavier sat back down with Reggie and Lance and me. You see, I'm trying to meet up with the resistance group. Xavier explained the gravity of the situation at hand to us, along with who broke him out of Resume. He told us for the past 2 years he's been secretly in contact with a spy who had managed to climb his way out to try to break him out. There was a mishap right at the end, however. The spy got himself killed while Xavier tried to get away. He couldn't make it out of the city without getting caught, so he's been in hiding, waiting for an opportunity to escape. We had just happened to be at the right place at the right time. The human started to unravel a bit now that he's had a chance to breathe. If my body let me move right, Grant would still be alive. I'm so damn slow now. He shook his head. My life wasn't worth his. Don't diminish his sacrifice by making yourself feel bad. You're disrespecting him. You say that, but I'm sure he just wanted to help you. I mean, he wouldn't have gone through all of that if he didn't, right? I know, but... Xavier's gaze turns towards me. Their one eye widened in surprise. Oh shit, were you shot? He said in a panic which confused me. What are you going on about? They pointed to my cap. Sure enough, there was a tear in my pants and some blood. Oh, something must have grazed me on the way out. They didn't even notice. Mr. Reginald, do you have any rubbing alcohol? You don't have to be so formal. What's gotten you so worked up? It could get infected. Hey, come on. Aaron's the toughest guy I know. Right, Aaron? My boyfriend looked up at me earnestly and made me smile bashfully. Shut up, Lance. He's right. I'll be fine. Without being prompted, Xavier tried tearing what was left of his clothes to make a makeshift bandage. Xavier was the kind of guy who would put others over himself, even when he was in a bad state. It's not an exaggeration to say that he's the reason I started to believe in hope again. Hope that there's at least some good out there, and that it's worth trying to find it. He opens his eyes and looks at me with compassion. It's thanks to him that I was able to meet you after all. He got us to meet the Resistance, and we eventually got employed by them. It was a good time, all in all. Aaron's expression turned sour. Well, I thought it was. Guess others thought differently. Aaron takes a deep breath after talking for so long. I hope that learning more about me doesn't scare you or anything. Aaron, you don't have to worry about that. You're like my best friend. The fact that you felt comfortable enough to tell me everything means a lot to me. It was mainly out of fear, if anything. And that in and of itself takes courage. Trust me, you're fine. Thank you, Cyrus. Don't mention it. Need a hug? I wouldn't turn it down. Come here, big guy. To reassure him, I stand up so that I can give him as big a hug as I can manage. Like before, he's shaking as we embrace. Now more than ever, I want to tell him that there's a possibility that Zhangir is alive and well. But I just can't. I need more information before I let him know. Maybe Silver can do something about that one day. Aaron eventually breaks the hug and starts to rub his eyes. I don't know what got over me. Man, it got late. Sure did. I'm about ready for bed. What about you? Here, here. Without hesitation, he takes a pill bottle out of his axiom. He pops a couple into his mouth before swallowing. Feel free to wake me up in the morning if I oversleep, but I'll try to set up an alarm for us. Sounds good to me. I'm excited to sleep in a tent. I haven't gone camping in a long time. Then let's stop procrastinating and get to bed. Since the moon is the only source of light we have, Aaron tries to lead me to the tents. He gently takes my hand to guide me over everything. I wish I had good night vision. Once I make it inside, he zips my tent closed. Then he heads to his, which is right next to mine. Good night, Cyrus. And thank you for listening. Thank you for telling me, Aaron. Good night, you big softy. Good night, Cyrus. Even from a tent over, I can definitely hear him purring. Listening to that easily puts me to sleep. And that's where I'm going to leave it for today. So yeah, we got to hear a bit of Aaron's backstory. And we also got to see the little trading session between Silver and Cyrus. And it's interesting to note that Cyrus can do his little, not time slowing, but I guess perception slowing, or perception speeding up, I guess. And I wonder if that will come into play later on, like if he has to defend himself from Resume or something. Hintity hint hint. Maybe something will happen next. Ooh. But yeah. So, but yeah, back to Axel. So, poor guy. Had it rough in the orphanage, became a gang leader, or I guess a member of a gang, to a gang leader, and then saved Zhangir. And it was nice to actually see Zhangir now, and you could see the resemblance between him and Cyrus. So I guess that's kind of at first why Axel was so taken aback by him. That might have been why he rescued him on accident, maybe, thinking it was Zhangir. I was like, oh no, it's not him. Oh, well, let's get him out anyways. But yeah. What else? Obviously, if you saw, you note that the Lance sprites are new. They have been updated, and they were updated by Orion. He's the one that did the new sprites. I think, I'm pretty sure it was him. And so yeah, you'll note, because it looks like Lance went through puberty. The OG Lance was more soft, while the new Lance is a bit more taller, I guess. He looks taller and like more pointy. I mean, no offense, Orion, but it is kind of like a signature of your art that it's kind of pointy. It's not a bad thing. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I want to commission you. Please let me commission you eventually one of these days. But yeah, there is a big difference, and to me, it kind of looks nice, because he looks more aggressive, or not aggressive, more, I don't know how to put it, but he just looks better in a way. But yeah, anyways, so yeah, we also got to see a not chunky Axel, which was a little weird. I kind of prefer chunky Axel. I like the rotundness. I like the pillow. Also, the joke about him making a good pillow, like I say, well, you know, I think it was Orion, like, yeah, he would make a good body pillow eventually, you know, hintity hint hint, to make me maybe, you know, have some merch, which they do. They do have some Remember the Flowers merch, which I will talk about in the next video. But yeah. Anywho, so thank you all for watching / listening. If you would like to play Remember the Flowers and find out what happens yourself, you can find it over on itch, and you can find a direct link to it from the creators, well, not from the creators, from the Remember the Flowers Twitter page. And if you'd like to support the project and get early access to builds of Remember the Flowers like I do because I support them, you can subscribe to their Patreon. And right now, well, not right now, but like probably in the coming days, they will be releasing an interlude episode, which between this arc and the next one. And what it's going to be about, we don't know yet. I don't know yet because they haven't released it, but I'm going to find out before all of you who don't subscribe to their Patreon. So yeah, if you want to be special like me, then subscribe to the Remember the Flowers Patreon. Anyways, so I guess that's it for now, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye-bye.